Since 2010, the median home in Austin has more than doubled in value. So has the median home in a handful of other places: Nashville, Miami, parts of the Bay Area. But drive 4 hours outside almost any of those cities, and you'll find a county where home prices haven't moved in a decade. Same country, same decade, same economy on paper, but two completely different financial realities. And it's not just home prices. It's jobs, it's population, it's where new businesses actually get built, and it's where venture capital, bank lending, and even federal infrastructure spending actually land. Which raises the obvious question: how can two towns, sometimes less than 200 miles apart, be living in what feels like two different economies? Well, here's what almost nobody says out loud. This isn't random. It's not luck, and it's not really about which mayor did a better job or which city council passed the right zoning law. It's structural. Because for the last 2 decades, money, jobs, and opportunity in America haven't spread out. They've pooled. And once you understand where they pooled and why, you start to see the whole map differently. So let's follow the money. Venture capital is one of the clearest signals of where the American economy is placing its bets on the future. And it isn't spread evenly. Depending on the year, somewhere around 2/3 of all venture capital in the entire country flows into just 3 metro areas: the Bay Area, New York, and Boston. Not 3 states, 3 metro areas out of the more than 380 metro areas in the United States. That means the vast majority of the country, hundreds of cities, thousands of towns, are competing for a sliver of the capital that's actually funding new companies, new jobs, and new wealth. And when the money doesn't show up, the trajectory doesn't reverse. It just compounds. No capital means fewer new companies. Fewer companies mean fewer jobs. Fewer jobs mean people leave. And when people leave, the tax base shrinks, which means worse schools, worse infrastructure, and even less reason for a business to move in next. It's not a single bad year. It's a slow, self-reinforcing spiral that can run for a generation. It's the same thing happening with population. Since 2020, the 10 fastest growing metro areas in the country have added residents at several times the national average. Places like Austin, Raleigh, and parts of Florida have seen population growth in the double digits. Meanwhile, more than half of all U.S. counties have actually lost population over the same stretch. Not slowed down, lost people. Mostly smaller counties in the Midwest, the Rust Belt, and parts of the rural South. And when you follow where the good jobs specifically are landing, the picture gets even sharper. A large and growing share of new high-wage jobs in fields like technology, finance, and professional services are concentrating in a small number of metro areas, the same ones already pulling in the venture capital. Meanwhile, wage growth in a huge portion of smaller metro areas and rural counties has barely kept pace with inflation over the same period. So the places already ahead aren't just staying ahead. They're pulling away faster every single year. So while a small number of zip codes are absorbing new residents, new jobs, and new capital all at once, a much larger number of zip codes are watching all 3 walk out the door. Now, here's where it gets personal, because this isn't just a statistic. It's the difference between 2 families living what looks like the same American life. Take a young professional in a winning metro, Austin, say. Their local economy is adding jobs. Their home, even if they bought it 5 years ago, has likely appreciated well past what they paid. Their local tax base is growing, so the schools, the roads, and the services around them are improving too. They are, whether they realize it or not, riding a wave that's lifting almost everything around them at the same time. Now, take that same kind of family in a county that's losing population. Local job openings are shrinking, not growing. Their home value has been flat for years, which means it's not building equity the way a normal American home is supposed to. The tax base is shrinking, so the schools and services around them are often getting worse, not better. Even the local bank branch, the hospital, and the grocery store are more likely to close than to expand. They're doing everything right, working hard, saving what they can, but the ground underneath them is sinking a little every year, not because of anything they did, just because of the zip code they happen to be born or priced into. And it shows up in something as simple as a paycheck.
Median income in the fastest growing metro areas has climbed noticeably faster than the national average over the past several years. In many of the counties losing population, median income has barely moved once you adjust for inflation. Same country, same decade, two completely different paychecks. Now, back to why some zip codes are pulling away from everyone else. Because economists actually have a name for this pattern. They call it the superstar city effect. A small number of metro areas pull in outsized shares of high-paying jobs, especially in tech, finance, and professional services. And once that concentration starts, it feeds itself. Talented workers move to where the jobs are, companies build where the talent already lives. Capital follows both. And once a city crosses a certain threshold of density and talent, it becomes almost self-sustaining. It becomes a loop that's very hard for an outside city to break into, no matter how much a local government wants to attract new business.
Mark Murrow, a senior fellow who studies regional economics at the Brookings Institution, has pointed to exactly this kind of pattern, describing how economic activity in America has increasingly clustered into a small number of superstar metro hubs, while many other regions get left further behind. So if the old picture of American inequality was rich versus poor, the newer picture layered on top of it is winning zip code versus losing zip code. And the easiest way to see it is to picture the map of the country not as 50 states, but as a small cluster of bright dots connected by threads of investment, surrounded by a much larger area slowly dimming. Those bright dots, the superstar metros, are pulling in the capital, the jobs, and the population. The threads are the highways, airports, and supply chains that connect those dots to each other more tightly than they connect to anywhere else. And everything outside those threads isn't necessarily collapsing. It's just being left off the map that matters. Not falling behind because it's doing something wrong. Falling behind because the new economy simply isn't routing through it anymore. And here's the part that makes it even harder to escape. Because these dynamics compound generationally, kids who grow up in a superstar metro are more likely to attend well-funded schools, more likely to be surrounded by professional networks, and more likely to end up working in one of those same high-growth industries as adults. Kids who grow up in a shrinking county often have to leave just to find that same opportunity, which drains the very talent that could have helped turn things around locally. The map doesn't just describe where the money is today, it's quietly shaping where the money will be in 20 years, too. And that's really the uncomfortable part of this story. It's not that most of America is failing. It's that the American economy has quietly redrawn its own borders, and most places are on the outside of the new map without ever being told the lines had moved. Before we wrap up, I want to know where you land on this. Is your area one of the ones pulling ahead, or does it feel like it's being left behind? Drop a comment and let me know what it looks like where you live. Because when you zoom out, this is the real story underneath the headlines about a booming national economy. National numbers can go up and to the right, while most of the map underneath them goes flat or falls. Two towns 200 miles apart really can be living in two different economies. Not because one tried harder than the other, but because for the last 2 decades, America has been quietly building an economy for a handful of zip codes and asking everyone else to compete for what's left.